Good morning to one and all. I, Purnima, welcome you to my class. Now, student, today we are going to do chapter number 5, children, of your book, The Snake and the Mirror. The Snake and the Mirror, and children, it is written by Vacuum Muhammad Bashir. So, what is his name? Vacuum Muhammad Bashir. So children, he is the writer, okay, Vacuum Muhammad, okay, Bashir. It is you here, okay. So this is the name of the writer who has written The Snake and the Mirror. Now let me tell you, in this chapter I'm going to tell you something about the author, then about the background of the lesson, then I will be explaining, and discussion of the lesson will be there after all. And meantime children, whatever new words we will be having in the story, I will be telling you the meaning of new words and difficult expression. So now I'm going to tell you something about the writer, about the author, and the name of the author of The Snake and the Mirror is Vacuum Muhammad Bashir. Now Vacuum Muhammad Bashir, he was born in 19 January 1908 and he died on 5th July 1994. He was a renowned author from the state of Kerala, and he was a humanist, freedom fighter, novelist, and of course a short story writer. He catered. He children catered means to provide. He catered to the needs of the common man in his writing. So children, what a common man, and that's why that was the reason for his popularity, because he knew that what a common man wanted in his writing. He was awarded with the Padma Shri in 1982. So children, in 1982 he was awarded with the Padma Shri award. Okay. Now would like to tell something about the story. The Snake and the Mirror is a beautiful short story. It sparkles with Bashir's wit and humor. How humorous he has, the writer has he has thrown light on humor in the story. Though while reading you can see this thing, you can feel this thing. It has all the elements of a good short story. So whatever the characteristic of a short story is there, Bashir has done it, children. There is a suspense in the story. There is a drama in the story. Bashir's native talent as a storyteller is evident here. We, like his listener, read the story, holding our breath till the narrator reach its end. Okay. So before starting the story, I would like to tell now about all the important point of the story, and then the summary. So what I would like to discuss the all the background of the story. What are the important point here? So children, the story is about a homeopathic doctor. Now children, we know there are three types of doctors are there in our country. One is homeopathic doctor, other is children one is homeopathic doctor, and the other is children Ayurvedic doctor, and third is allopathic doctor. Okay, so this story is about a homeopathic doctor. He was very handsome and he was unmarried. He wished himself a great admirer of beauty. Now children, so he loved beautiful things and beautiful children persons. So he himself was the admirer of beauty, and he was definitely a very handsome person. And since he was a young doctor, just now he had completed his medical studies. So now he had earning very less money. He lived in a rented house, which was an outhouse. What outhouse? That means it was at the outskirt of the city, the rent was not very high. Now children, he even did not had electricity in his house. He lit the kerosene lamp, took off his coat and shirt and opened two windows. One day he came from somewhere. He children lit his kerosene lamp. He took off his coat and shirt and opened two windows. He settled on the chair and started to read a medical book. Since children he was a doctor, so often he used to read some medical books. Well, children, where he was living in his room, there was a large mirror on the table on which stood a lamp. As it was too hot to sleep, he sat in front of the mirror, admiring his look and smiled and planned to look more presentable. So, children, it was very hot. He was not having electricity in the house. So, he was feeling, children, he was thinking that mm, without a fan it was not possible for him to sleep since it was too hot that day. So what he did, he sat in front of the mirror. He sat in front of the mirror in his house. Okay. And he in front of the mirror, he started looking at himself. He started admiring his look. And children, he started thinking that how he will look more handsome in future and how he would be more presentable in the future. Gradually his thought shifted from self-admiration to planning his future marriage. And all of a sudden, he not only was thinking about his look in the future, he started thinking about his marriage also. That to whom what type of girl he would marry. And he started thinking and children starting planning about his marriage. Now children, when he was planning for marriage, he thought that what type of girl he should marry. And obviously children, he thought that he would marry a girl who is having a medical qualification. She should be a doctor. Okay. And she should have her own practice, and moreover she should be a rich doctor. Because children, because he would need to, he would wanted his wife to be rich, because he wanted to open, I think, their own nursing home. Okay. And not only that children, the most funny thing is that he was thinking to choose a fat wife. Okay. So when there would be fight, she would not be able to run and catch him. So here the writer has thrown the humor. He was so engrossed in his daydreaming that he did not give much importance to the sudden silence. Children, he was so engrossed in his dream that he did not even, children, paid attention that uh, the much importance to the sudden silence. The rat had stopped scampering. Children, in his rooms, rat were also there. So often what they used to do, they used to jump and they used to make noise. So that time suddenly children, he did not pay attention that why the rat have stopped all of a suddenly to make noise. There was a sound of something falling behind him. Suddenly children, he heard something noise like thud, as if something had fallen behind him. He was slow to react. He was very much slow to react. By the time he turned round to look, a snake had slid over the back of his chair. And children, when he started looking at the back, what did he saw? He saw a snake had slid over the back of his chair, wriggled on his shoulder, and coiled round his left arm above the elbow. He was wriggling on his shoulder, and children, his left arm that snake has coiled. It was, of course, a very dangerous snake. Its hood spread out just 3 inches away from his face. The doctor sat there like a stone statue, not making any movement. Now, children, he was so shocked, so scared that he sat like a statue. Otherwise, he knew that any movement if he will make, the snake would bite him. So did not make, he was so scared that he was sitting silently without making any noise. without making any movement, lest the snake strike him. Suddenly he realized the presence of God. Now, children, after so many days, he started remembering the God to save his life from the snake. It seemed as though snake in the form of it seemed as though God in the form of a snake had come to punish him for being proud and arrogant. Now, children, one thing he had realized that he was proud and arrogant doctor, and he started feeling that God has come to punish him in the form of a snake. He realized that he is only a mere human being, not above that, and so he should not boast about anything else. Well, the moment he accepted his true worth, God appeared pleased, and the snake left his hold and sat on the table in front of the mirror. Now, children, the moment he was thinking that now he will not be egoistic, he will not be arrogant, he will not be proud, and he started realizing that this snake is in the form, it is a form of a god, God in the form of a snake has come to punish him. So when he started, children, thinking, praying in his mind to God that he will not repeat this mistake for being an arrogant and proud, suddenly, children, he realized that the snake is God is pleased, and snake left his hold and sat on the snake in the front of the table. The doctor got up silently and sprinted out of the door. Next morning, when he returned to take his belonging, he noticed all his belongings were stolen, as he had run away without as much as locking the door. So, children, this one. Now I would like to read all the important, I will tell you all about the important points of the story. So now I'm going to write the important, what are the important point of the story. So, children, my first point is a rented room. Okay, so he was not living in his own house, he was living in a rented room. So, children, a few friends were discussing snakes. One of them, a doctor, told the story how a snake once coiled itself around his arm. So, children, the doctor himself is here telling his story. Now, what story he is telling, that I am going to share you just now. So, children, a rented room, we can say, of the doctor. Okay, so now, children, the story start with a few friends, and they were discussing snake, and one of them, a doctor, told the story. Now, children, the doctor, he was teaching his student, and these students, everybody was discussing snake, and children, that doctor started telling how a snake once coiled itself round his arm. He lived in a small house, rented room. It was a room which was there at the outskirts of the city. It was an outer room. It was far away, and children, it was an outer room. Its one wall faced the open yard. It had two windows. It had a tiled roof. The tiles were supported by gavels, which rested on the beam over the wall. Now here the rat frequently visited the room. The rat frequented the room from the beam. The room was not electrified also. There was no electricity in the room. Now, my second point is hearing familiar sound. Okay, so hearing familiar sound. Now my second point is hearing familiar sound. One hot summer night, he returned to his room after having his meal at the restaurant. Now, children, he did not used to cook also the doctor, because he was busy in his studies and with his patient, so he was not able to cook. So one summer night, children, he returned to his room after having a meal at the restaurant. When he opened the door, he heard a familiar sound from above. So he lighted the kerosene lamp, as he was not having the electricity in his house, and the kerosene lamp was on the table. He took off his black coat, white shirt, and dirty vest and hung them up. Now, children, his coat and his shirt was looking neat, but his vest, it was dirty, and he hung them up. He sat down on the chair. There was a large mirror on the table. Now, children, he was a bit tired. He sat on the chair, and in front of the chair, the table was there, and a large mirror was kept upon the table. Well, my third point is looking into the mirror. So, my third point is looking into the mirror. So, my third point was looking into the mirror. Now, he looked into the mirror. He took a close look on his face. He decided to shave daily and grow a thin mustache so that he might look more handsome. He smiled while looking into the mirror. It was a charming smile. He took another decision. He would always keep that charming smile on his face to look more handsome. So, children, he started looking at the mirror as it was very hot. And he was not able to sleep, so he sat on the children chair, and he took a close look on his face. So he decided now that how he would look more beautiful, more handsome. So he decided first that he should shave daily and grow a thin mustache so that he would look more handsome. He smiled while looking into the mirror. Now, children, he started smiling and looking at himself in front of the mirror. Now, here again, the writer is being a bit humorous, okay. And while looking into the mirror, it was a charming smile. He took another decision. He would always keep that charming smile on his face to look more handsome. Now, children, he started looking at himself, and he started liking that charming smile, and he started thinking that from now onwards he would smile every time because he was looking more handsome. A lovely thought. Now, a lovely thought. And children, when he was thinking about his look and how to look more handsome, he got up and paced up and down the room. Suddenly he got up and started moving up and down the room. Then a lovely thought came to his mind. Now, children, suddenly he started thinking something very special, and to whom he should marry, what type of girl he should marry. So now he was thinking that he would marry a girl who will be on medical line, and she should be a rich. So he would marry a rich lady doctor. His wife must be fat, so when he committed some silly mistake and needed to run away, she might be able to run after him and catch him. So he knew that in life he will always commit silly mistake, and she would like to have a fight with him, and since she would be fat, she won't be able to catch him. Now, so he was engrossed in his lovely thought about himself and about his future wife. Now my fifth point is, so children, when he was thinking this thing about his future wife and how he would look more handsome, okay, suddenly children, a appearance was of snake was there in the room. He again occupied his seat in the chair. Suddenly, children, he felt that there was a silence in the room. Till now, children, rats were there inside the room, and they were making a very funny and lot of noise and very funny sound by them. Okay, so all of them, those rat has stopped making sound. There was a silence was prevailing in the room. This was not noticed by the this doctor. He was simply occupied in his seat in the chair. Suddenly he heard a thud. He heard a something must have fallen around him, and a thud sound he heard. Before he could understand anything, a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on his shoulder. Now, children, before he could think that what was that third sound, a very fat snake climbed from the back of the chair and landed on his shoulder. Then it slid from his shoulder and coiled around his left arm. Okay, above the elbow. It stood, was spread out, and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches away from his face. Now, children, his hood was there, and he was hardly 3 to 4 inches from his face. Now, children, when the doctor saw him, he was scared. He was so much scared. He was very much afraid. Now, my sixth point is motionless as a statue. Okay, he became motionless. Okay, he was so scared that he did not move at all. He again occupied his seat, and he sat motionless as if he was a statue. But his mind was very active. He knew that the snake would bite him at his slightest movement. Children, he knew even if he will move a little, the snake would bite him at his slightest movement. Death lurked 4 inches away, but he could do nothing. And children, suddenly, after a long time, he started remembering God. He knew that for many days he did not remember God. And one thing, children, it was in his knowledge, he felt that the snake is in the form of a God, and he came there to punish him. He came there to punish him. Uh, what punishment he wanted to give? He wanted to bite him. And why? Because he felt that he is too arrogant. He is very much in every time he is in ego, because he might was be thinking that his career is a good career. He is a doctor. That's why he was always arrogant and in ego. So he promised to God, he started talking in his mind to God, that God, please forgive me, and from now I will not be arrogant, and I will be behaving with all the person in a nice manner. Okay, not arrogantly. So, and suddenly, children, he felt that the God had forgiven him, because the moment he started asking forgiveness to God and he started promising God that he would not behave in an arrogant way, that snake has left him. Okay, suddenly the snake turned its head, it looked into the mirror and saw its own reflection. Now, children, the snake, now it left his arm and he climbed on the table, started seeing at his own image. His own reflection was seen by the snake. It unwound itself from his arm and slowly crept into the table and moved towards the mirror. Well, children, he started looking at himself. Who? The snake. He was looking at himself at the mirror. Now, breathless race. Now, my next point is breathless rack. Sorry. So my next point is breathless race. Now, he got up from the chair and quietly went out through the door. Once he was in the veranda, he leapt into the yard and ran as fast as he could. He ran and ran till he reached his friend's house. Next morning, accompanied by his friend and one or two others, he came to his room to move his things from there. And suddenly, children, he realized that nothing was left in the room. When he was there in his friend's house, a thief has come and stolen everything. Whatever, there was a very less thing were there in the room, but what was there, the thief had come and stolen those things. Okay, something that had removed most, or the thief had removed most of his thing except the dirty waste which was still hanging. So children, the thief had taken each and everything, all of the, even small things like mirror, kerosene lamp. But children, what he did not touch? The dirty waste which was still hanging. So again here the writer has thrown the he is a bit humorous. So children, that's all. This is written in the story. Okay, this is there in the story. Okay, this was the main point which I have to discuss in the story. Now I am going to start the chapter. So we will be reading the chapter. It's a nice chapter. Okay, and I will be discussing the word meaning, the new word meaning along with the lesson. So let's start. So now children, I'm going to read the chapter number 5, The Snake and the Mirror, and written by Muhammad Bashir. So that chapter is starting with the appetizer. Here it is written, before you read, do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? Of course children, I think everybody loves to see their reflection in the mirror. What do you think about at such times? Have you ever seen a dog, a cat, and a bird look into the mirror? What do you think it sees? Okay. Now, children, the writer is putting you a question that do you see mirror? And if you see the mirror, then what do you think? Now, he is putting a question to you that did the animals like dog, cat, or bird also look into the mirror? And what do they think when they see their reflection in the mirror? So you have to think about this question, and in online class children we can discuss this. Now read this humorous story about a doctor, a snake, and a mirror. So children, this story is a humorous story, and you must just know I have discussed all the main points of the story. You must have realized this whole story is a very humorous story. Okay, so first paragraph, has a snake ever coiled itself round any part of your body? Now the writer is asking you, has a snake ever coiled itself round any part of your body? That means you had an experience that a snake has coiled on your body. A full-blooded cobra, and that snake is not a ordinary snake, it is a very poisonous snake, it is cobra. All of us felt silent. Now children, every student was, every person there was silent. The question came from the homeopath. Children, this question, the question came from the homeopath. The topic came up when we were discussing snake. Now children, this question came from homeopath, and children, the topic that was discussed were snakes. We listen attentively as the doctor continues with his tale. Now children, here the doctor told he, I have got something to tell you about snake. Paragraph 2. The house was not electrified. Now children, he is now started telling his own experience, his true experience of a snake which he had faced. Now he is telling the house was not electrified. The house where he was living in rent, it was not electrified. There was no electricity in the house. It was a small rented room. So children, that room was on rent. He had hired that room on rent. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. Now children, he told that he has just started his medical practice recently and he was not having enough earning. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase along with some shirt and dhotis. Now children, what he had together, he was having 60 rupees. Even at that time, money had some value. 60 rupees was equivalent to, I think, 1,000 rupees only. So children, he was having 60 rupees in his bag and in his suitcase, and so children, I think I've left this stanza. I'm revising once again. This the first stanza, few lines are left, so I'm discussing that line also. It was a hot summer night about 10 o'clock. So he is telling the doctor, homeopathic doctor, he is telling about his own experience of life. He is telling it was a hot summer night. So once upon a time, it was a hot summer night and it was about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. So he must not have got the time to cook, maybe, or maybe he was too busy to do some other work because he was a practice. He might return late from his clinic, whatever, but he could not cook at that time and he had his meal at the restaurant and children, he returned to his home. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. So children, the sound was a familiar one. He heard the noise, okay, when he opened the door. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. And children, now I think you can guess that the noise was from the rats. So it seems that not only the doctor, even the rats, they are sharing that room, because whenever he used to come, he used to see a lot of rats and they were making noise. So I heard a noise from above. I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. Now children, since his house was not electrified, he was not having electricity, so he took the matchbox from the box, and children, he had a kerosene lamp which was put on the table. He lighted that kerosene lamp. The house was not electrified, children. As I told you, the house was not electrified at all. It was a small rented room. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase along with some shirt and dhoti. Now children, his was not in maybe he was a new practitioner, he was a young doctor, he was practicing. His practice was, he started practice recently, so he could not save any money. He was simply having 60 rupees in his suitcase along with some shirts and dhoti. I also possess one solitary black coat which I was then wearing. He was also having one black coat which he was putting right now. So children, with this, I think the time is over. I conclude my video here. Thank you and have a nice day ahead. In my next video, I will continue the story. Bye bye student. Stay at home, stay safe.